Not least of all because the monarchy is about continuity. But I think for my brother, this is something he's been waiting for. For the rest of us, it's more a question of, okay, we have to shift the way we support.
She refused to bow, and the whole world saw it. In a family built on rules, rank, and ritual, one woman broke the script in front of millions. And people instantly knew this was not some harmless royal moment. This was personal. This was old history walking back into the room. This was Princess Anne standing inches from Queen Camilla and refusing to give the one gesture everyone was watching for. No curtsy, no bow, just a controlled kiss on both cheeks and a silence louder than applause. For outsiders, it looked small. For royal watchers, it looked explosive. Because nothing inside that world is accidental. Every glance matters. Every step is planned. Every gesture is coded. And when Commonwealth Day 2024 arrived at Westminster Abbey, senior royals lined up like clockwork. Prince Edward bowed. Sophie curtsied. Princess Catherine bowed with elegance. Then Anne approached Camilla and changed the temperature of the room. She chose affection without submission, courtesy without surrender. It was smooth. It was polished. It was devastating. Social media erupted within minutes. People weren't asking what happened. They were asking why, because this was never just about etiquette. It was about decades of tension hidden beneath pearls, uniforms, and palace smiles. Technically, Anne had every right not to curtsy. After King Charles's coronation, royal women born into the bloodline rose in rank and were no longer required to bow to Camilla. On paper, Anne followed protocol perfectly. But royal history teaches one brutal truth. When someone uses the rules at the exact moment everyone is watching, the rules become a message, and Anne's message felt crystal clear. To understand the frost, you have to go back to the 1970s, when this story was not about crowns, but hearts. Before titles were rearranged and before scandals consumed headlines, there was a man moving through elite London circles. Andrew Parker Bowles. Charming, connected, desired. He was dating Camilla Shand. Then suddenly, he pursued Princess Anne. Imagine that scene. Camilla, watching the man she loved, turned toward the king's sister. Not just another woman, a princess, a royal original. The humiliation must have burned. Anne and Andrew became close, very close. But their relationship had a wall in front of it. Religion, royal restrictions, palace calculations. Marriage was never simple. Meanwhile, Camilla and Andrew remained tied in an on and off orbit, never fully broken, never fully free. Then came another twist so dramatic it still sounds unreal. Camilla grew closer to Prince Charles. Yes, Anne's brother. The emotional geometry of this story was already dangerous. Everyone was connected to everyone. Desire turned into rivalry, loyalty blurred, hurt multiplied. Then, in 1973, Andrew married Camilla. Reports say Anne was heartbroken. She later married Captain Mark Phillips, but many believed old feelings never completely died. Andrew remained close to Anne for years, even becoming godfather to Zara. Think about how awkward that is beneath the surface. The former lover stays close. The wife sees it. The family pretends everything is normal, and inside palace walls, nothing truly disappears. It only gets dressed better. Now comes the detail that turns gossip into documented power. In 2005, Charles finally married Camilla after decades of scandal, whispers, and resistance. The question immediately rose: would Princess Anne have to curtsy to her new sister-in-law? Most families would argue privately. This family needed paperwork. Queen Elizabeth II reportedly had an official document prepared setting out precedents within the royal family, and the result stunned observers. Anne would not have to curtsy to Camilla. Let that sink in. A formal royal arrangement had to be created because the tension was that serious. Imagine Camilla's position. She had waited decades to marry Charles. She survived being blamed, hated, dissected in public. She entered the family at last, only to discover one of its strongest women would not symbolically bow. Not once, not ever. Some wounds shout. Others stand upright in heels and say nothing. Princess Anne's reputation made it even sharper. She has never been known for fake warmth or decorative diplomacy. She is blunt, disciplined, and famously uninterested in nonsense. If Anne approved of you, it mattered. If she didn't, people noticed. Reports claimed she doubted Camilla as queen material. Some even said Anne believed Camilla would never be a true queen. Whether harsh or honest, it revealed something crucial. Anne judged performance, duty, and substance above romance or reinvention. Camilla had married the future king, but Anne was not prepared to hand out acceptance like confetti. Then there was Camilla's daughter, Laura Lopes, caught in the shadow of a battle she never chose. She was not royal enough for the palace machine, yet too connected to escape public curiosity. No title, no formal inner circle role, present for milestones, absent from power. Her life became the quiet, collateral damage of a story larger than herself. While her mother entered palaces, Laura remained outside the institution by design, not exiled by decree, but separated by structure. That kind of distance can feel just as real, and still, after all the bitterness, something strange began to happen. Time did what arguments could not. Queen Elizabeth died, Charles became king. Illness shook the family, responsibilities intensified. Suddenly, Anne and Camilla were no longer younger rivals orbiting a matriarch. They were senior women holding up a monarchy under pressure. Old grudges met new reality, and reality usually wins. Anne began praising Camilla publicly, not lightly, not politely, genuinely. She acknowledged Camilla's work ethic, her support of Charles, her adaptation to a role many thought impossible. That praise mattered because Anne does not waste compliments. When someone like her changes tone, it means something happened behind closed doors that outsiders were never allowed to see. Respect may have arrived long after affection failed. Then came the stunning image in late 2024. Anne presenting Camilla with an honorary doctorate, guiding her carefully, standing beside her with warmth. Years earlier, the world obsessed over Anne refusing to bow. Now, Camilla was kneeling ceremonially before Anne in academic tradition. Irony? Symbolism? Closure? Maybe all three. But if you think the peace we see today means the war is over, look closer. Royal history has a habit of smiling for cameras while carrying scars underneath silk gloves. Because what happened between Princess Anne and Queen Camilla was never one argument, one insult, or one awkward ceremony. It was 50 years of bruised pride, crossed loyalties, and silent judgments layered so deeply that even when they stood side by side, the past was still standing there with them. When Queen Elizabeth II was alive, she was more than monarch. She was the pressure seal on a family full of competing egos, unresolved betrayals, and carefully managed resentments. She knew how to smooth edges, redirect tension, and keep emotional chaos hidden behind choreography. The moment she was gone in 2022, that shield disappeared. Suddenly, every relationship inside the palace had to survive without the woman who spent decades controlling the temperature of the room. That changed everything for Anne and Camilla. Because now there was no referee, no buffer, no mother figure to absorb friction, only reality. Then Charles took the throne, and Camilla stepped into the role many once believed she would never reach. Think about how shocking that transformation really was. For years, she was described as the outsider, the controversy, the third person in a marriage that ended in public heartbreak. Yet now, she was queen, not symbolic companion, not tolerated spouse. Queen. That single word must have echoed differently in Anne's mind than it did in the headlines. Because Anne had spent her whole life inside the system, doing the duty, carrying the burden, obeying the schedule. Camilla arrived through scandal and still reached the top. Even if Anne respected it later, that journey could never have looked simple from her side. And then came another blow the public rarely understands properly. Charles's cancer diagnosis in early 2024. Illness changes priorities fast, old grudges suddenly look expensive, petty wounds feel smaller when mortality enters the room. Camilla reportedly intensified her schedule, taking engagements, representing stability, protecting Charles while he recovered. That kind of pressure reveals character. It is easy to criticize someone in calm weather. It is harder to dismiss them when they carry the roof during a storm. Anne, who values work above image, would notice that immediately. This may be the hidden key to their thaw. Anne is not known for sentimentality. She is known for discipline, endurance, and respect for people who show up. Camilla, after years of ridicule, kept showing up. Literacy campaigns, community visits, public duties, long days with cameras waiting for mistakes. She did not vanish. She did not collapse. She adapted. For someone like Anne, effort can matter more than charm. Reliability can matter more than popularity. In that sense, Camilla may have won Anne over not through apology, but through stamina. Still, don't mistake civility for innocence. The emotional debris of the past does not evaporate because two people smile at a ceremony. Remember what tied them together from the beginning. The same man, the same era, the same social circles. One woman dated him, the other married him. One was born royal, the other married into royalty after years of rejection. Those contrasts create invisible tensions no protocol guide can erase. Even forgiveness, if it came, likely came with memory attached. And then there is Laura Lopes, Camilla's daughter, whose existence quietly exposes one of the monarchy's coldest truths. Proximity to power does not guarantee belonging. Her mother became queen, yet Laura did not become royal. No title, no constitutional role, no permanent place inside the institution. She could attend milestones, appear in family moments, and still remain outside the core machine. Imagine watching your mother rise into history while you remain structurally peripheral. That kind of distance can be polite on paper and painful in real life. Some reports claimed Laura and Prince William clashed in earlier years over the pain caused by the Charles-Diana-Camilla triangle. If true, that means the next generation inherited emotional fallout they never created. That is how royal scandals work. They do not end with one marriage or one funeral. They echo through children, traditions, seating plans, holiday invitations, and decades of loaded silence. Then came the image nobody could have predicted years earlier. Anne publicly honoring Camilla, speaking warmly of her generosity and understanding. These were not accidental words. Anne chooses language carefully. Praise from her carries weight because it is rare. When she acknowledged Camilla's contribution, it sounded less like courtesy and more like a verdict reached after long observation. Perhaps Anne had spent years testing whether Camilla could truly serve the crown. Perhaps in the hardest season, Camilla finally passed. But here is the deeper twist. Maybe both women changed. Anne may have softened with age, perspective, and loss. Camilla may have hardened in the best sense, becoming stronger, steadier, less dependent on approval. Sometimes two rivals stop fighting not because one wins, but because both outgrow the battlefield. What once felt personal becomes historical. What once felt unbearable becomes boring. And boredom is often the final stage of conflict. Yet even now, the body remembers what the mouth forgives, which is why that Commonwealth Day moment remains so fascinating. Anne did not curtsy. She did not need to. But if their bond were simple, people would never have noticed. The world sensed meaning because history had trained them to. One tiny gesture carried decades inside it. That is why it exploded online. Everyone felt there was more beneath the surface. They were probably right. So where do they stand now? Possibly closer than ever. Possibly respectful allies. Possibly two professionals who understand each other at last. But friendship inside a monarchy is never ordinary friendship. It is layered with hierarchy, memory, duty, inheritance, and cameras. Even tenderness can be strategic. Even sincerity can be complicated. What we know is this. Princess Anne once became the woman who would not bow. Camilla became the woman who would not break. One represented bloodline. The other represented survival. For years, those forces collided. Now they coexist. Maybe that is the real miracle here. Not love, not total healing. Coexistence. And somewhere inside palace walls, behind the handshakes and polished smiles, two women who once symbolized tension now symbolize endurance. But if another public moment comes, another glance, another skipped gesture, another carefully timed silence, the world will be watching again. Because some rivalries do not disappear. they simply learn manners.